Hi, everybody. Today I have got Mandisa Greene joining us, and Mandisa is veterinary medical director of Vets Now. She's responsible for driving clinical and professional standards. She's a former president of RCVS and the current chair of the RCVS Practice Standards Group. She graduated from University of Edinburgh in 2008. She worked in small animal practice for 4 years before working for a dedicated out-of-hours service, including Vets Now. She has been a lecturer at Harper Adams University, a vet life volunteer, and chair of BVets Charity. Hi, Mandisa. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Tshidi. Thank you for having me.
Very good. I was really excited to speak with you, and I was wondering if you can tell everybody listening a little bit about yourself and maybe a bit about your ethnic background.
Okay, so I guess I'm a vet in terms of you've read my bio, so that's great. My ethnic background, I think, if we can go to that, is African Caribbean. So my parents both hail from the Caribbean. My mom is from Guyana and my father is from Trinidad. But as we have found out in recent times, I think nobody's history is quite exactly what they thought it was. So we have a very convoluted history across the Caribbean, and of course, prior to that hailing, I would, hailing from Africa. So we're definitely African Caribbean in our background. And yeah, really pleased with that.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Can you please just outline your journey into veterinary medicine? Given that all generations want an upward social mobility for their offspring, and what did your parents think about your choice of career?
Yeah, so my parents were already, I think, in their own lives, started their own upward mobility from their parents. So my parents were the first in their families to go to university and to study professionally and so on. So when we came along, they definitely wanted that for us. I think for me, I was really lucky that my mum was interested in being a vet when she was a child. So
Ah.
she was really bought into the idea of me being a vet, and definitely they wanted me to be focused. The kind of joke I make about my family and the context around it is that they're four kids, four of us were born within 5 years. And anybody who has children knows that kind of keeping one together is really challenging and keeping them on track. So imagine trying to keep four who were born within 5 years. So for them, they wanted all of us to kind of grab onto something that we could aspire to. And so when I had I think when I was about 8, the words that I used is I wanted to help animals. I wanted to look after animals, and they gave me the vocabulary for that. They said that's called being a vet, and they just really held on to it and moved with it. So they were able, because I think they knew about it, they were able to expose me to going to animals, going to our vets often. So whenever we had to take the animals to take our pets to the vet, it would be me that goes. So it's kind of, Mandisa gets to go on this journey because all four of us can't go in the car. So it's Mandisa that gets to go because she wants to be a vet. So Mandisa gets to go and, taking to open days at the vet school in Trinidad. And so I was really exposed at a really early age and very much encouraged to being a vet. So my parents were very bought in, very much in line with this. And even when it got challenging for me, I think in vet school, they were very much my cheerleaders, very much the people who kind of told me, you're going to get to the end, just keep going. So yeah, really lucky.
That is an amazing story. My goodness. Yeah, I think a lot of people go through like situations with regards to just family not even knowing what a vet is,
Yeah,
especially from our
yeah,
ethnic background. So that is a really
yeah.
brilliant story. Thank you for sharing that. Everybody's life journey is invariably different. And, very often it's punctuated with peaks and troughs, like I like to say. Did you experience any culturally specific challenges that your classmates or colleagues maybe didn't experience?
Yeah, I did. So I think that the biggest challenge for me was I think going into vet school and finding that I was the only person from my specific ethnic background at university. So I think it's really difficult for people to imagine what that feels like, because the kind of we're all people, we're all humans. Some people say they don't see color, but when you come with what I come with is my is my culture. What I come with is all of who I am. What I come with is my family and my heritage. And not having anybody who can understand that, not having anybody who can identify with that, I think makes it feel rather, I guess it feels rather distant, I think, from what I would have grown up and kind of been used to and been comfortable with. So I think for me, there was a massive feeling of being isolated in vet school, where I had friends, and the friends I made in vet school are still my best friends to this day. But there was still a level of having to explain things to people because of the cultural reference in which I brought to it. So things that I had to do that I felt was important to me because of my background that people just didn't quite understand. So it just meant an extra layer, which can sometimes be a little bit tiring and can sometimes also be a little bit lonely. So I think that was definitely a challenge for me, kind of going through vet school as well.
Yeah, I definitely can identify with that. And, did you find that there were specific things or, ways in which you helped get over some of the challenges?
Yeah. So I'm very much a problem solver. So my response was to find a solution, and the solution was not going to be in vet school, because if I looked upwards and downwards, so as I went through vet school, if I looked to the kind of the larger years kind of 3, 4, 5s, and I looked to the year ones, there was still no one coming through that looked like me. There was no one that was there that looked like me. So my solution was to find people that I could identify with. So Edinburgh is a lovely city. It is very diverse. And so what I was able to do was to find, to make links and connections. So we had a group of us who had hailed from the Caribbean, who had been living in the Caribbean, who then became really good friends. And we would kind of meet up every other Sunday and cook together and eat together. And that's just such a massive part of our culture. So it was just a really wonderful kind of moment and experience for me. And then we started bringing in other Caribbean islands. So we'd bring in people from Barbados and Jamaica. And so we just had a really wonderful, very Caribbean experience, where I think we could all find a community where we identified with each other. And to be clear, these were all people of different ethnicities as well. So these were people from all different ethnicities, but we shared a culture, and that was really important. So it was, I did kind of find that really comforting. And then I also, as I kind of went through vet school, found occasions and reasons to go back to the Caribbean. So I did electives in the Caribbean, and I did kind of work experience in the Caribbean. So I did as much as I could, so I punctuated the vet school experience with culturally specific and culturally comforting references for me.
That is such an amazing story. I think it's so important people see that it's not always in the area that you're in that you can find the solutions, and sometimes it is slightly out, and that is brilliant.
Yeah.
I can just see your face light up when you talk about it.
Yeah.
We're chatting about this because we've got Black History Month, and I know it says Black History Month, but in reality, we experience these things all year round, So, I mean, what would you like the landscape of veterinary future to look like, for students and professionals that are in the industry at the moment, especially for those in the Black, Asian, and minority ethnic groups?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question. And I think for me, I was having this conversation recently when somebody said to me about the need for a diversity and inclusion group. And I was saying the ultimate aim is that is no longer needed. So the ultimate aim is that our professions are so diverse and our schools are so diverse that this no longer becomes a conversation. So, at the moment, this is very important to us because there is a recognized kind of disparity between where we are and where we want to be, and where our ambition is in terms of improving and increasing diversity. So when we get there, it will no longer become relevant to have that discussion. And I think that for me, that's very similar to the kind of woman in the profession conversation that people must have been having generations ago, where we need more women in the profession. Well, we no longer need to have that conversation because we've done it. And so my aim, my ultimate desire, and where I would love to see us as a profession, as professions, and as we come through, is that we no longer have to speak about it because we've done it.
That is beautiful. I think that's exactly, you know, when you kind of future pace, people ask you, and that's exactly what we want, where it is the norm and we don't even have to have a conversation about it being
Absolutely.
an important conversation to have. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, you know, I was wondering, I mean, everything you've said is basically in a nutshell, like what message would you have for just young individuals who are listening to us now thinking, yeah, it's good for you to say that. Like, you know, just a little snippet, what message, if they're just a little takeaway.
Yeah, I think it's really important that everybody recognizes that it's all a journey. Tshidi and I have not got to where we are overnight. I think it's all a journey. And if you can be patient with yourself, and more importantly, most importantly, believe in yourself, you can get there wherever you want to go.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Mandisa. One last question. If you were to have dinner with three people
Ooh,
from history or anyone who's alive now, who would you choose and why?
ooh. Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, and the Queen, probably. And I would say why I think they're all very influential people who have been very humble in their success, but also very generous in giving. I the idea of duty and of service is really important to me. And I think all of those people embody that very much. And so I would love to have dinner with them all.
Oh, could you imagine the conversation?
I know.
I definitely want to join you guys there. I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to chat with me today. And obviously, you know, we will definitely be hearing from you in the future because we've got lots of work to do. Um, is there any way anybody can get hold of you if they needed to? Is there an easy place or maybe Instagram? What's the easiest way for us to maybe get hold of you?
Yes. So I'm on Instagram at Dr. Mandisa the vet, and you can also find me on LinkedIn and Facebook as Mandisa Greene.
Beautiful, beautiful. So guys, if you're listening to this and thinking, oh, I could collaborate with this lady, you know where to get hold of her. Thank you so much, Mandisa.
You're welcome. And also to say to anyone kind of starting their journey with any questions or needing any advice, really happy to be for anyone to reach out to me as well. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thanks a lot.